So, anyway.
Who would Fiona call if she was in jail?
I don't know. Fiona.
Who would you
call?
Who would you call if you were in jail? Trevor?
Trevor, probably. I mean, if it wasn't Trevor,
Before your parents?
well, they can't do anything.
My parents are both lawyers, so
Yeah.
I'd call my parents.
Yeah, I'd call your parents.
Yeah,
Both of my parents are lawyers, so.
I would probably want to call Trevor to let him know where I was.
Okay.
what happened,
That's fair.
Just so he wouldn't worry. But
Trevor would just show up and be like, let her out!
I feel like my dad has all the answers to everything all
Yeah.
the time, so I'd probably
Yeah.
call him.
Yeah.
Or Bernie. Because I feel Bernie's like a pseudo-dad for me.
Well,
Yeah.
so as someone who has called someone from jail, I called my parents first.
Oh, what?
Well, you were in
Wait a
Okay,
minute.
throw that on you away.
Yeah, I've told this story in the podcast before.
Not this podcast.
Not this one, but no. So my sister got married, God, 10 years ago, I guess.
I'm so excited for where this is going.
And so I was like, I'm gonna get hammered. I was like, in the wedding party, and it was like, unlimited drinks. Like, all right, and then gave my buddy my keys because I was being responsible.
Good.
Gave him the keys, and I'm like, I'm getting smashed. And so proceeded to get annihilated. And then
Open bar, I imagine.
Oh yeah. And so then afterwards, him and I, we went out like to a pool hall, a bunch of other places. We were just driving around getting goofy. And he was sober though. And then we got back to my brother-in-law's house, my new brother-in-law's house, because it was like, that's where we all got ready. That's where all our stuff was. And it was like, let's go there. Got there. We have no way to get in. And it's like, shit. Okay. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm not driving. He's like, I'm done for the night. I'm like, all right, well, I guess we'll just sleep here. So we just slept in my car.
Okay.
And so I woke up the next morning, and he was gone, and the keys were in the driver's seat. And I was like, all right. So I got out, I stretched, still wearing all my stuff from the wedding, still tuxedo and everything. Stretched, got in the car, turned it on. It was in Round Rock. And so I drove a blue Mustang at the time, very, very easy to spot car. And so I pulled out, and I was like, I was just really tired, and I was hungry. I'm like, I can go left and go home, or go right, go to Round Rock Donuts, which, like, I need some breakfast.
Oh, yeah.
So I turned right, 8 a.m. Sunday morning.
Amazing donuts, by the way.
Great donuts. And then heading down towards Round Rock Donuts, a cop's passing the other way. He spins around and gets behind me, and I'm like, okay, that's weird. And so he starts following me. I'm following the law. I pull over, or I pull into Round Rock Donuts, clicks on his lights, pulls me over, and he walks up to the car and he goes, "Sir, I have reason to believe you may be intoxicated right now."
What?
And I was like,
What the fuck?
okay. And so and so he pulls me out of the car. And they give me a field, and then now there's 3 cop cars behind me, and Round Rock Donuts is full of people.
Must be a real
all
slow
watching.
day in Round Rock.
Yeah.
Man.
And so they gave me a field sobriety test, and he said I failed it. And so he threw cuffs on me. They towed my car, and I was like, oh shit, okay. And so they took me to like a holding cell in Round Rock, and they gave me a breathalyzer there. Legal limit in Texas is 0.08 as the BAC. I blew a 0.047, which is little more than half the legal limit.
Yeah.
And so the cop like made me do it twice, and then he looked at me and he's like, well, and I'm like, well, does that mean I'm good to go? And he's like, no. And I was like, oh, okay. And so because they said I failed the field sobriety test, which is totally subjective, because apparently the pen test, here's a trick for you. The pen test, what they do is they move it beyond your field of vision. They'll move it in your eye. And so my eye tried to flicker to catch real far over. That little flicker meant I was drunk. And so, anyway, so they took me then up to Pflugerville.
I was like,
Oh yeah.
I just saw Mariel go.
So they took me to Pflugerville, threw me in jail. I got photos and everything taken,
Whoa.
and then. I
wait,
remember
do you have mugshots in your tuxedo?
no, it was the white shirt.
Oh,
I don't have
God,
the
that would
jacket
have been
anymore.
so good.
Those dapper
But the
mugshots.
thing is, I don't have the mugshots. I never got them. And so, anyway, so I ended up going there. It was Sunday, like maybe 11 a.m. at this point when I finally made it to the holding area or the jail. And they're like, yeah, well, it's Saturday. Last night was pretty busy, so you have to speak to the judge to post your bond. He's full for today, so you'll do it tomorrow. And so I had to stay overnight in jail. And at that point, I had to call my parents and be like, hey, Mom and Dad, so funny story.
Oh, my gosh.
And I did everything right. I didn't drive when I was drunk. I gave my keys to my buddy. I waited until I slept it off. I was still rough, but I was legal.
Right.
But there's no way to explain that to parents and be
No.
like, oh, no, it's the day after your daughter's wedding, and your son's in jail. And so anyway, so ultimately, like I stayed the night overnight. A guy tried to kill himself, which was fun. That guy was literally like making strips out of his shirt to like make a noose to hang himself.
Oh
and
my
so I like
gosh.
banged on the door, and they run in there, stripped him naked,
My
threw him in the
God.
bathroom. It was a rough night.
That's an understatement.
But ultimately I got out. I posted bond. My dad picked me up, and then since I wasn't legally above the limit, they didn't take my license. So I literally went from jail to the impound to get my car and then drove it home. And then I drove home, took a shower, because I hadn't showered in like 2 days at that point.
Oh my
And I was just covered in alcohol because of, I was drinking.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then I ended up going to work, and my dad apparently my dad didn't know this, but my dad had called my boss and said, hey, Jack was a little sick this morning, so he'll be in late. So I roll into work, I'm like, what's up, guys? Just got out of jail. And they're like, what? And I was like, oh, no, I was in jail. They were like, oh.
That's not what we heard.
We thought you were sick? And I was
I'm
like,
a different man now.
it's like, I did nothing wrong. I did everything I was supposed to correctly. And so, except I still went to jail. But anyway, ultimately, I got a letter saying that they had declined to prosecute my case, which means like they're not going to take me to court. But until the statute of limitations was up, they could at any point have pulled me into a court. That passed, but I only recently found out it's still on my record because
I was gonna ask. Yeah.
I went to go get global entry for since we travel so much, and the person that interviewed me pulled it up. He's like, it says you have a DWI arrest here, and I was like, I didn't know that was still on my record.
Oh my God, I didn't even think it.
So you didn't get charged. You didn't even have to pay any fines or anything.
No, nothing at all.
What?
But now to get it expunged off my record is going to be about $3,000. Now that's a decade after the fact, after it happened.
Oh my God.
So,
And so you can't get global entry.
not until that's gone. Like you have to have a clean record to get it.
Wow.
And so.
Fuck, dude.
Yeah. So that sucks.
I think the worst part of this story.
Did you get any donuts?
Right.
No,
Yeah,
I didn't
you
get
get
any
any
donuts.
But
Let's fly the donuts in, guys.
Anybody, Round Rock? Can we?
I've met your father.
Yeah.
And he is quite possibly the sweetest looking man I've ever seen in my life.
And the sweetest man.
And the sweetest man. I can't imagine disappointing him.
Yeah. That was, literally is like, because I didn't do anything wrong. I did everything I was supposed to do. But you can't be like, oh, hey, Dad, calling you from jail. No, I'm totally in the right, though.
It's the good kind of being in jail.
Yeah.
It's
so,
not, doesn't.
Anyway.
It wasn't my fault.
So what was it that made them pull you over?
So what had happened was, since I was sleeping in my car, someone in that neighborhood saw me, and they called the cops. And so that cop who pulled me over was on his way to basically knock on my window and see what was going on. And in that amount of time, I got up and drove away.
Isn't it also illegal if you've been drinking to sleep in
the driver's seat?
Front seat of the I
think it's the driver's seat.
I think it's like if you have the accessibility to drive a car while intoxicated, even if it's like turned off and parked, you still.
I've been told if you're ever gonna do that, you should put your keys like on top of your wheel outside of the car and then get in it. Like so the keys.
So you're
aren't
like I couldn't
inside the
even
vehicle.
access it.
Exactly.
So someone could just show up,
Steal your car.
While you're just, like,
you like wake
passed
up
out
and you're like in Minnesota. We're going to Kappa Tattoos.
Oh
That was
gosh.
fun.
Oh man.
Well, today I learned.
Wow.
There you go.
Yeah, I did not know any
And of all my friends, all my asshole friends that have done so much shadier stuff than I ever have, I'm the only one who's ever gone to jail.
Man.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
Isn't that always the way?
Clean cut, straight A student, and all throughout high school.
Look at you.
Yep.
Well,
Jack,
All for some Round Rock donuts.
Hannah's had a few stints in jail.
I'm a hardened criminal.
she has one of those
I know it's.
ankle.
I got it. Yep.
she's-
It's
It's real thin.
under this
Keeps it-
sock.
It's actually me. I just put it on her. I know where she's at.
It's just a tracking device that Mariel
It's
put
a
on
kink.
me.
It's a kink she has. She likes to know where you are at all times.
You know.